Hello and welcome. This is a story about art, courage, and the quiet power of family. Listening to stories is a great way to learn English. You hear real emotions, everyday language, and natural rhythm. You can also try the shadowing reading technique, repeat each sentence out loud after hearing it. This helps with fluency and pronunciation. Find a calm place, take a deep breath, let's begin. The train was late again. The wind was sharp, pushing dust across the empty platform. Julian stood there, hands in his pockets, sketchbook under his arm. His jacket was thin, too small in the sleeves, and his shoes had holes in the sides. But his eyes, they were alive, watching everything, catching shadows and shapes most people missed. He was 17, tall, with quiet strength and a sharp jawline that made him look older than he was. But he didn't feel older. He felt tired, not just from work or school or the cold, from holding it all together. His sister, Eva, was 23. She had taken care of him since their parents died in a fire 5 years ago. She worked at a diner 6 days a week, sometimes nights too. Her hands were always dry from the soap. Her face was kind, but her eyes carried weight. They lived in a basement apartment that smelled like old carpet and hope. The walls were covered with Julian's drawings, cityscapes, faces, hands, light. He drew after school, after work, and sometimes at 3 in the morning, when the world was quiet. Eva never stopped him. She'd just put a blanket over his shoulders and say, "Don't forget to sleep sometimes, yeah?" Julian wanted to be an artist, not just someone who drew, someone who mattered, who said something with a pencil the way others used a voice. He wanted to paint the things people felt but couldn't name. But dreams don't feed you. So he went to school, then to work a delivery job at a print shop. Then he came home, ate whatever Eva had time to make, and drew until his hand cramped. One Thursday, after dropping off a package at a tall glass office downtown, Julian passed a gallery window. He stopped. Inside was a painting, red and grey, and sharp. It made his chest hurt in a way he didn't understand. He stood there, frozen, until a woman in black opened the door and said, "You like it?" Julian nodded. "I've never seen anything like it." She smiled. "It's by Matteo Carras. He's having a showing this week. Want to come in?" Julian hesitated. He was wearing old jeans, his shirt had a tear, and his shoes were wet from the snow. But he stepped inside. The walls were full of color. Some of it loud, some of it whispering. The woman handed him a card. "You ever make art?" "I draw," he said quietly. "Show me sometime," she said. "We always look for new voices." Her name was Naomi. She ran a small gallery and helped young artists find space and sometimes scholarships. Julian thanked her and left before he said something stupid. That night, he told Eva. She leaned back in her chair, eyebrows raised. "You walked into a gallery?" He nodded, and she asked to see your work. He nodded again. Eva smiled slowly. "Well then, maybe something's finally opening." But Julian didn't show Naomi his sketches right away. He was scared. What if they weren't good enough? What if she looked at them and just smiled that polite way people do when they want to let you down easy? A week passed. Then two. He kept drawing, but the pages felt heavier. Then something happened. He was making a delivery in the rain, and a man in a rush knocked him off his bike. Julian hit the pavement hard. His jeans ripped, his elbow bled, and his sketchbook flew into the gutter. He crawled to it, heart racing. The cover was torn, the pages wet. He held it tight and sat there, soaked and shaking. Then he walked the rest of the way, dropped the package off, and went home. Eva opened the door and gasped, "What happened?" "I fell," he said. "It's fine." She helped him sit down, cleaned his elbow, and looked at the sketchbook. "Still want to be an artist?" she asked. Julian looked at the ruined pages. "Yes," he said. She nodded. "Then let's start acting like you will be." 2 days later, Eva handed Julian a large brown envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "Your sketches," she said. "I picked the ones you left on the table, the clean ones, not the ruined ones. You're taking them to the gallery today." Julian hesitated. What if she hates them? Eva shrugged. "Then you draw more." "But she won't." He stood in front of the gallery again that afternoon. His palms were sweating. He could see Naomi inside, talking to someone in a black turtleneck. The space looked too clean, too bright for someone like him, but he walked in anyway. Naomi looked up and smiled. "Hey, you came back." Julian held out the envelope. "These are some of my drawings. You said to show you." She took them gently and sat at a nearby table. Julian stood awkwardly, watching her eyes move over the pages. She didn't speak for a long time. Finally, she looked up. "You have something rare," she said. Julian blinked. "What do you mean?" "You see pain," she said, tapping one sketch. "A face half in shadow. But you don't run from it. You turn it into something quiet, beautiful." He didn't know what to say. No one had ever spoken about his work like that. Naomi leaned back. "There's an open call next month. Young artists under 20. Winner gets a scholarship to the summer program at the National Art Institute. It's big, and your work could fit." Julian shook his head. "I don't know if I'm ready." Naomi smiled. "No one ever is. That's why we try anyway." She gave him a flyer. Submission deadline for weeks. That night, he sat at the kitchen table, staring at the paper. Eva made tea and sat across from him. "So, there's a contest. A big one. Are you doing it?" "I think so." She nodded. "Then we'll make it work." The next weeks were brutal. Julian worked double shifts to save up for supplies. He came home late, drew until dawn, then went to school half awake. Eva started bringing him snacks without asking. Sometimes she'd stand behind him, quiet, watching him draw. His new piece was unlike anything he'd done before, a painting this time. He'd borrowed canvas from the school art room, paint from an old neighbor who used to teach. The painting was a self-portrait, but not of his face. It showed a boy walking through a storm. He had no umbrella, just a book in his arms and light coming from inside him. Behind him was a shadow of a woman with tired eyes, holding back the rain with her hands. When Eva saw it, she said nothing, just pulled him close and whispered, "That's us." He nodded. The day of the submission, Julian brought the painting to the gallery. Naomi helped him fill out the form. "You sure you want to call it the shelter?" she asked. Julian smiled. "It's what she is." Then the wait began. 2 weeks. Then 3. Julian stopped checking his phone every hour. He went back to drawing, but slower. His nerves were frayed. Eva kept making tea and playing soft music at night, trying to calm him without words. Then one Thursday evening, just as he was about to fall asleep, his phone buzzed. He opened the email and stared at the screen. Then he ran into the kitchen where Eva was folding laundry. "I got in," he said. She looked up. "What?" "I got in. The summer program. Full scholarship." She dropped the shirt in her hands and rushed to him. They stood in the middle of the kitchen, laughing, crying, holding on. "I knew it," she whispered. "I knew it from the start." Julian didn't sleep that night. He lay on his back, staring at the ceiling, thinking about the train platforms, the rain, the ripped jeans, the ruined sketchbook, and Eva always there, holding the sky up with both hands. The summer program was in another city. Julian had never been that far from home. He packed everything in one old backpack: clothes, pencils, 3 sketchbooks, and a photo of Eva. Laughing in the kitchen, she handed him a small envelope before he boarded the bus. "Don't open it until you get there," she said. He nodded and hugged her tight. The ride took 6 hours. Trees gave way to buildings, then bridges, then more buildings, taller, brighter, louder. When he got to the art school, his hands were shaking. The campus was full of color and people who wore strange glasses and spoke in bursts of ideas. Julian checked into a tiny room with a skylight. He sat on the bed and opened Eva's envelope. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a drawing, one of his own, the one with the boy in the storm. On the paper, Eva had written, "Don't forget who you are. Don't forget who got you here. Make them see you." The program was intense. 8 students, 3 instructors, and 12-hour days filled with lectures, studio work, gallery tours, and critiques. At first, Julian felt lost. Some of the other students talked about galleries they'd shown in, schools they planned to attend, mentors they already had. Julian listened, quiet. He didn't have words like they did, but when he picked up a brush, everything made sense again. His instructors noticed. One, a thin man with silver hair named Ren, stood behind Julian one day as he painted and said, "You paint like someone who's lived more than 17 years. Julian just nodded. He didn't know how to explain all the nights awake, the missing parents, the long hours at work, the dinners Eva skipped so he could eat. Instead, he poured it into his work. He painted hands calloused, tired, reaching. He painted faces caught between light and shadow. He painted silence, noise, and the moment before someone cries. One day, during a group critique, a student named Myra pointed at his canvas and said, "Why do all your figures look like they're holding their breath?" Julian paused. "Because that's how I grew up," he said, "waiting for things to fall apart, Or to get better, Myra didn't speak again, but after class, she walked with him to the library and said, "That's the real stuff. Keep doing that." By the fourth week, Julian had changed. He walked with his head higher. He started asking questions. He even shared lunch with the others, sketching with them under trees and laughing without guilt. Then, one afternoon, Ren took him aside. "There's a scholarship," he said, "one for students from hard backgrounds. Full ride to art school." Julian stared. "Me, you," Ren said. "If you want it." Julian did, but he was afraid. Again, Ren seemed to know. "You've already lived through harder things than rejection." So Julian applied. He wrote the truth about the fire, the basement apartment, the delivery job, the broken bike, the gallery, and Eva. He sent 3 paintings, all new, one of Eva with the world on her shoulders, one of the city in rain, and one of himself, not holding his breath for once. The last night of the program, they held a student showcase. Julian's paintings were on a clean white wall, with a little card beside them. Julian Reyes, age 17, South City. People stopped. They stared. One woman even cried. Afterward, Ren pulled him aside. "I hope you're ready," he said. "For what?" "For everything that comes next." Julian returned home in late August. The city felt smaller now. The streets were familiar, but something inside him had shifted. He walked differently. Not louder, just clearer. Like he knew where he was going. Eva met him at the bus stop, arms crossed, hiding a smile. "You got taller," she said. Julian grinned. "You look the same." "Still the boss, you mean?" "Exactly." They walked home in silence, but a soft, warm one. The kind that doesn't need words. Back in their little apartment, Julian unpacked his sketchbooks and pinned one of his new paintings to the wall. Eva made tea. Everything felt ordinary again, but it wasn't. Not anymore. 2 weeks later, a letter came in the mail. Thick envelope. Real seal. Julian stared at it, sitting on the kitchen table. His hands wouldn't move. Eva picked it up, waved it at him. "You going to open it or let it age like wine?" He opened it. He read it and read it again. Then he handed it to her. She read silently. Then her hand flew to her mouth. Her eyes welled. "You got it," she whispered. "Julian, you got the scholarship. Full ride. For years. The best art school in the state." Julian couldn't speak. His chest was too full. Eva hugged him tight, like she didn't want to let go. "You did it, little brother. You did it." That night, they didn't have much to celebrate with just store cake and instant cocoa, but it tasted better than anything Julian had ever eaten. They sat on the floor, laughing, crying, remembering everything it had taken to get here: the burned house, the jobs, the cold nights, the ruined sketchbook, and now a future. In the weeks that followed, Julian began preparing. He painted constantly. Eva helped him fill out forms. They budgeted every coin, planned every detail. One evening, Julian walked into the living room holding a new canvas. "I made this for you," he said. Eva looked at it. It was her painted. From memory. Sitting on their old couch, arms around a boy with a sketchbook. Light poured from behind her, soft and golden. She wasn't tired in the painting. She looked like a guardian, a shelter. Unbreakable. Eva didn't say a word. She just hugged him and whispered, "I'm proud of you." On the morning Julian left for college, they stood again at a bus stop. Same city, same sky. "You sure you'll be okay here?" he asked. Eva smiled. "Always. And I want to see your name in a gallery one day, or on a wall, or a magazine." He nodded. "You will." She gave him the same envelope she had last time. "Don't open it until you're there." When the bus pulled away, Julian pressed his forehead to the window. He didn't wave. He just watched her until the city disappeared behind him. A tea school. Everything was new again. Big buildings, white walls, people from everywhere, but this time he wasn't afraid. He opened Eva's envelope. Inside was a drawing, the same one from last time, but now updated. The boy still walked through rain, but he had grown taller. The light inside him was brighter. And now, beside the woman behind him, was a second figure, older, holding a brush. The note said, "Now you're walking with me." Julian smiled. He picked up his sketchbook and began to draw, because all of this was just the beginning.